you were in the media, you were a journalist, and not
Yes.
many people may know this, but Shazia was the first one to expose Mr. Digvijay Singh's the so-called
Yeah.
conspiracy that the 2611 was RSS ki sajish.
Yeah.
She was the one who actually. So before I pose to you the question, I would like you to frame in your mind as to the circumstances that led you to do that bit of investigative reporting.
Yes.
And the question is, why do people like Digvijay Singh or that the kind of, as it is a common phrase to use the phrase, Lutyens cabal, get such a free press when you make such incendiary conspiratorial arguments that something like 2611 was a conspiracy hatched by the RSS?
Yes, Digvijay Singh, backed by Aziz Barni, and who later had to apologize, actually made up the story about Hemant Karkare because he was championing the cause of Muslims, that he was actually shot at by the Hindutva, people of Hindutva mindset. And there are many such theories that abound. But believe you me, 3 days of 2611, I was a correspondent and an anchor of Star News. And I happened to go to Bombay Hospital, and everybody was covering the commandos and all the whatever was going on, and I had covered the Mumbai terror attacks. Somebody just told me, because I was an anchor and they recognized me, and I happened to go to the ward where Arun Jadhav, they called them the pilot, the operators, they drive the jeep, or Vijay Salaskar. And thanks to that interview, I mean, nobody even knew who he was, but somebody recognized me and said it's a good story. So the story came out for the first time, where Arun Jadhav told the world as to how Karkare ji, Kamte ji, and Salaskar ji were killed. And there was this whole thing made up, and I wrote about it extensively and did a lot of public meetings on the subject.
Did you get a chance to interview Digvijay Singh and kind of accost him with this?
No, Digvijay Singh met me for many years during the Anna Hazare movement, and not just Digvijay Singh. So not just Congress leaders, and I don't begrudge them that. They are in the Congress party. This is their job. It is politics. It is realpolitik and not idealism. So give them that. I do not blame him. But I'm talking about the likes of the so-called intelligentsia. All the wonderful people who speak for Congress, for corruption, for Bofors, who are ready to immerse in this visceral hatred against Modi ji day after day, day after day. मुसलसल तौर पर उनका बस जिंदगी का ये मकसद हो गया है कि हम कैसे सुबह उठें और मोदी जी को गालियां बकें. So this is so terrifying and terrible for me that somewhere the pursuit of truth and objectivity is not there. While I can see, being a member of the BJP and earlier of AAP, the fault lines, the gaps that are sometimes between a reasoning and logic and what we are saying, and to be self-critical, and I have been self-critical and critical of my party too, I do not see a shred of objectivity in the way a huge section of journalists behave and conduct themselves. It was them who constantly, Digvijay Singh kept telling me, kahan Anna Hazare movement, and do you know how evil he is, how evil Kejriwal is, and whatever. But there was a bunch, and these are the most important, who you and I would consider the most important liberal journalists of our country. All of them went and told me, why are you fighting with them? You are speaking against UPA 2 corruption, but do you realize that Anna Hazare movement is RSS sponsored? RSS funded, RSS motivated. And I said, yeah, even if it is, it doesn't matter to me, because we're fighting the corruption of UPA too. And we're fighting for our country and for its resources and for transparency and better systems and better governance. And that logic did not work. And they were shocked even then that why I, as a Muslim, would do that. And their messages, and Tisa Sitalwad and all were aghast, because I had worked with them earlier, that how could you do this to us? And I said, but aren't you against corruption? Doesn't corruption impact all of us all? When there is a medical scam happening in UP, where chief medical officers are killed during Mayawati's time, aren't the poor deprived of medicines? And you yourself say that Muslims are most economically backward. So what are you talking about? I didn't get it. You see, I never got it. Only because I questioned. As a journalist, I was asked to interview Shri Ravi Shankar. It became such a beautiful interview that Shri ji only wanted me to interview. Please Google sometimes on Star News and Shri, and I went all over to Argentina and Patagonia and everywhere interviewing him. If you look at...
you interviewed him live?
Yeah, live.
No, because one of your colleagues, Sagarika Ghosh, had that thing. Where he
And
was
whether it's Sadhguru, so it's about having an open, and I've never felt uncomfortable. I've never felt these horrible godmen, this Hindutva peddling people. I don't know where this comes from. It is such an unfair hatred, and they haven't even bothered to find out. So my only appeal to all of them is, get to know. You have a problem with RSS? Have you met any of them? And my interaction with RSS, I'll tell you. I was in Z News, and Z News has a certain politics of its own, and we all know that, and I'm not getting into that because it could be on television. I was a young cub reporter from Jamia Masscom, and they said, I wanted to cover, and they were giving me all the things like lifestyle. I said, no, I want to cover politics. I'm made for that. I was this 22-year-old crazy girl at that point of time. I continue to remain crazy, and I'm proud of it. Anyway, and I said, they said, you can't cover BJP. And I said, why not? I'm curious about BJP. Let me cover BJP. And they would not let me, because there was this bias, me being Muslim. So when they saw Shazia Ilmi, I was a Muslim. I could not. And you know what happened? I would go to the BJP office. They were like any other party. If at all, they were slightly kinder and nicer. And as a kid, and I made friends with then Kushabhau Thakre, who was this very sweet man who reminded me of my dad, because he had this kurta pajama, dhila dhala. He used to be there. And I said, "Aap log aise kyun hai?" And I would ask these very innocent, mad questions. "Aap log kya Musalmanon ko hate karte hain? Kyun karte hain aap log? Bahut galat baat hai." And he would sit me. I mean, it was like that. So sometimes innocence helps.
Just to add,
and that openness helps. Yeah. And once you get to know them, then I met another very senior RSS functionary, and I will not tell you his name. And I started talking to him, and I expected him to talk about sanskar and Bharat and tilak and sindoor and sari, and this is the impression they've created. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but we spoke about Meena Kumari. And he was a huge, ardent fan of Meena Kumari. He knew the poetry, the shairi of Meena Kumari, which I can tell you is very sakht Urdu. It's not regular spoken Urdu. It's just brilliant. Read Meena Kumari's shairi. And Kamal Umrui and all were her fans, and people would steal her poetry. It was so shaista and muhazzab. So this is a conversation I have with an RSS senior.
So, Shazia, here's the
I'm
question.
debunking the myths. Can you see that? And for myself, because I made an effort to do it.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.